Hello everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. Today we are going to be playing with the Gnometivity stamp set, and I just love this stamp set. I want to make 3 different cards for you using the Gnometivity stamp set along with 3 different kinds of lights. You've seen me use the halo lights, the one light, and the easy light, and so we're going to combine it with this foiled burst. We're also using our modern embossed window panel number 3, and we have our embossed edge hills and slopes. And here are those lights I was talking about. And Trinity Stamps has a package of halo light combination with one light, so you get 2 halo lights, and I think it's 4 one lights, so it's quite a fun little package to be able to make 6 cards with, and I think that's super fun. But we're going to show you each of these lights on a different card, all using the Gnometivity stamp set. So to save a little time, I stamped out and colored all of my images that I needed from the Gnometivity stamp set, and you'll notice this one's already die cut. There is a trick for that, because that has those little edges, the wood edges that are kind of floppy with the stamp. I have found the easiest way is to die cut your paper, then put your stamp on top of it and stamp that out. I just put that back in place using a little bit of mint tape, and then I can stamp it. But we're going to grab out our matching dies for all the rest of our pieces. We'll stick those down with a little bit more mint tape and run that through our die cutting machine. Then we'll have all of our little pieces ready to go. I did stamp those using some blackout ink on some Express It cardstock, and I used my Olo markers to color those. So look at how cute those are. All right, we're going to get started making our background. So I've got 2 panels of watercolor paper. I've put this in a makeshift splatter box. I'm spritzing a little bit of Uncharted Mariner Distress spray stain on those. And these, don't be so worried about the size of these papers. They are 5.5 inches by, I don't know, maybe 3 inches. That part of that's going to get covered, so I wasn't that concerned. I did bring in some Prized Ribbon Distress Spray Stain. I'm going to heat that in between, and then to kind of make those edges not as white, I am going to blend on some black soot. So this is going to be our night sky for 2 of our cards. And I'm just putting it on 3 of those edges because, like I said, that bottom panel or part of the panel is going to be covered by some craft cardstock. All right, I'll put those back into my makeshift splatter box, grab out our Trinity Gold palette. The one that is in the store looks a little different than this one, and it's a little less expensive, so that's great. And I'm going to splatter that gold paint all over that background. Max has decided to come in and check it out. He's even going to try and get his paws in there. You'll see that here in a second after I pick up this piece to show you. But I love the splatter on there. I love how textured this background looks with all that. Max. Thankfully, he didn't get any on his paw to then transfer to my pants, thankfully. All right, so we're going to let those dry a little bit. And then I have just a piece of 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch craft cardstock. I've brought in our embossed edge hills and slopes, and I'm going to cut 2 hills with those. With this piece of navy cardstock, I'm going to use my modern embossed window panel number 3. So I've die cut that out. And then we're going to foil this one. So this background is going to be obviously a little bit different. I have some polished brass foil. I'm cutting that with my quick trimmer. And then I've already kind of stuck my burst on top just to make sure it was kind of centered. And I'm holding that in place with some mint tape. And then I'll take my polished brass and put that on the inside. Now this isn't really a foiling video. If you're interested in foiling videos, I have plenty of those over on my channel. So you can head on back there. I'll run that through my Platinum 6, and it did a beautiful job of foiling, and I love how that burst just kind of really is focused on that center. Okay, so now we're going to build up these backgrounds so that we can put our little pieces on top. I'm just using my glass mat to make this be a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch background. And so I'm using a little bit of Crafty Gluefriend on the bottom portion, and then I'll stick one of my hills on top of that. This will just take, some of the bulk out of it. If I had taken a piece of 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch paper and then put this on top, it would just make it even that much bulkier. And we don't need that. So we're going to just use that glass mat to make sure that everything is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And these are all 3 A2 size cards. So now we can build up our backgrounds, not our backgrounds. We can build up our scenes. So on this one, I'm going to put down the little stable pieces. We are going to put the star right up on top. Make sure that that is good and adhered there. And then I'm going to use our camel. I'm going to use the little donkey and one of the little baby Jesuses that I have cut and colored. And we're adhering everything down with Crafty Gluefriend. Now you could use foam tape, but these are all going to be light up cards, so they are going to have plenty of bulk later on. So I've decided that we are just going to attach everything down using Crafty Gluefriend. And then we'll get our little Jesus there in the center. And then I will bring in my sentiments here in a bit. So I've gone ahead and now I'm bringing in an Olo marker just to add a little bit of shadowing to that so it doesn't look like they're floating on the background. And it's amazing how just a little bit of marker will make that look more grounded. Okay, so I've stamped, die cut all of my sentiments, and now I'm going to add those to my pieces. This one with our wise men, we haven't attached them down yet. I was not 100% sure where I wanted that sentiment, so I didn't want to attach it yet. But we're going to put our "For unto us a child is born" down here in the center. And then we can start attaching our little wise men. I just think these are so cute. And again, using that Crafty Gluefriend. And we'll put our star down. And then we'll put our "O Holy Night." And then for our third one, we can't attach the Jesus yet, but we can attach the word "rejoice." So we're going to put that underneath our circle. I was kind of debating what to do with our little sheep. He ends up going on the inside of one of those cards. So I had a different idea in my head, but I think this worked out better. Okay, so now that all of our panels are ready to go, we can start adding lights. So don't those look like fun? All right, so we're going to start with our one light, which is the easiest light. And I'm going to poke a hole through the center of our star, and I'm going to work that around. That's our pickup stick. Just work that around. I like to open up that center a little bit more to make sure that it is nice and open. And then I'll need to bring in our one light. And so that package, this particular package comes with 5. You get 5 batteries, 5 little mechanisms. I'll put everything back in there that I don't need. Pop off one of those mechanisms. And then it's so easy to put together if you've never done these before. Just line up the plus sign with the plus sign inside of there, and everything is good to go. I'll need one of my card bases, and I'm using craft cardstock for all of our bases. And I will use a pen to mark through the hole, and that way I know exactly where our light needs to be. So this is where I'll kind of play around with where that mechanism is going to go. And when I've decided where exactly it's going to go, I'll bring in some rip and stick tape, which is just some double-sided adhesive, pardon my head. And we'll put that on the back. And as you can see, every time I'm doing these, I am always checking to make sure that everything is working properly, that it's where I want it to go. Because if you're going to make a card like this, you want to make sure that you do it right. So we'll peel off that release paper and we'll stick it down. And doing it this way leaves that battery available in case I need to ever change that out or the recipient wants to change it out. All right, so now we're going to bring in some foam tape. This is called the world's best foam tape, and it's just a double thickness of foam tape. And this stuff is great because it is repositionable, but I'm going to try and go all around the edges. These card panels all measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, so they will go the full length of our card base. So I can just add that right to our card base. And you just want to make sure that you're building it up around your mechanism so that it doesn't sag in there. And that's enough, I figure. And so we'll just showing you that's repositionable. I'll peel off all that release paper, which is super easy to peel off. Sometimes you get those release papers that are not very easy to peel off, but this one definitely is. All right, and then I'm going to attach that down to our card base. And I need to mark where the mechanism is. So I do this all the time where I stamp it after the fact. It's not a big deal because I've also found that if that happens, if you screw it up, you can always just stamp it on a different piece of cardstock and stick that down on top of where it's supposed to go. So I've brought in our Papercrafting magic from Trinity Stamps, and I use that push all the time. So there's our first card using a one light. I love how it turned out. So stinking cute, especially when you pair it up with that Gnometivity. And here is our second panel. This one we're going to be using the Easy Light. And the Easy Light is basically 3 lights. So I'm poking holes on the pieces where I want those lights to come through. So I've decided that the Wise Men boxes are going to be lit up. And we're also going to have the star light up. So we've got 3 holes Same process. This is the packaging for our Easy Light, and just one battery, and then all you need is one of those mechanisms, which has 3 lights on it. So I will carefully snap that apart, which is easy to do, and then you'll, just like before, make sure that the plus sign lines up with your plus sign on your mechanism, and everything is good to go. So that's the hardest part. The next thing I do as far as these easy lights go is I just put my lights down where they're supposed to go. That is it. I don't worry about where my mechanism is going to go yet. I make sure that the lights, since they're number 1, are most important. So I'll pop that light through the hole and put some washi tape right up next to the light. That way everything just stays in place where it's supposed to, and just making sure that that light sticks through. Yep. And you're going to find that the back is going to be a little messy. I don't care. No one's going to see it unless you tear the card apart. But I'm always checking, and as you can see, that light works fine. Just making sure that those lights are facing forward. Always checking. So there we go. All right, now I need to use, once again, some rip and stick tape to attach down our mechanism. That's the next thing I do. Figure out where I want that. Pop that down. And then check it, of course. And then I'll take and wind up all the rest of my cords. And then, as messy as those look, because it doesn't matter to me, just use a little bit of washi tape over the top of that to adhere those down and make sure that they've stayed put. And then we can bring in our foam tape again. So it's the same process, just making sure that you don't go over your lights. You can go over the wires. It's not a big deal if you do that. That's not going to hurt it, not going to bother it. But we'll peel off all that release paper, and then we can attach this down to our base. And once again, we're going to need to stamp the word push. So we'll make sure we know where our mechanism button is and stamp the word push right on top of it. Then I will bring in that Olo marker, that brown one again, just to make sure that our, so it doesn't look like our little guys are just floating there, and we'll add a little bit of shadowing and shading underneath them. And this will dry back a little bit so it won't be quite as dark. But now we're done with our Easy Light card. I love how that one turned out too. So cute. All right, our final card will be using a halo light. So your halo light package, like I said, Trinity Stamps has in their store 2 halo lights along with 4 1 lights, and I feel like that's a pretty darn good deal. Okay, so I'll pull out that paper that keeps the battery from being connected. I'm just going to mark on my card base where I need this to go, and then I can once again either use liquid glue or rip and stick, and I'm just going to use some Crafty Gluefriend to adhere this down, just so that I make sure that nothing goes where it's not supposed to. These lights are so easy, I'm telling you. All right, once that's on there, now would have actually been a good time to erase those pencil lines, but I do it later. So we've marked that, make sure that it's all good to go. And I know that once I stamp the word push, or I'm not going to be able to stamp it on that background, it won't show. So I'm going to stamp it just on a piece of white cardstock, trim that down, and then we'll adhere that right over the top of where the button is. So that is always an option. If you don't stamp it correctly, because sometimes that happens, you can just stamp it and cut it out and stick it there. All right, we'll use our foam tape all around our mechanism again, peel off all that release paper, and then we can pop that down, our panel right down on top of our base. And then I want to pop up our little Jesus using some adhesive foam strips. So we're going to do that, and that way he'll be propped up in that background. And then that, after I erase the marks, is going to finish off this card. So there we have our halo light. He's so cute. All right, so I'm going to show you all 3 cards that I made again. I love, love, love that you can create light up interactive cards so easily. Each one of these is just, yeah. All right, so I'll have everything that I used linked down below in the description box, so head on down there if you're interested in that. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very, very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.